Thank you for attending Clearfly Communications educational series. This presentation is entitled Traditional versus Modern Approach to Selling Phone Systems. If you've watched any of our other presentations, we always typically start off with who is Clearfly. So we're going to do the same with this presentation, starting at the top at 12 o'clock, the block entitled Established SIP Provider, and we're going to continue through each block in a clockwise rotation. So Clearfly is an established SIP provider. What I mean by that is we were founded in 2007. We have well over 3,000 customers. We have 50% growth year over year. A couple other things that aren't mentioned on there is we're completely profitable, which is a rare feat today in the telecom industry. We are not looking to be acquired. We're actually looking to acquire new features and functions and products to add to our portfolio. We offer some unique feature sets. A couple of those things would be DID forwarding, which means that you can set up an unavailable forward number for each and every specific DID number that a customer may have, just in case their system were to go down due to a power outage, system processor issues, internet issues, or whatever other reasons that their system may go down. As of today, I am unaware of another SIP provider allowing unique DID forwarding. Almost everybody, including Lex and CLEX, will provide an unavailable forward number, but it's typically one number for all DID numbers. We also offer bursting. Bursting trunks, if you're unfamiliar with that term, really means customer purchases X number of SIP trunks to provide or have a few extra calls ring through if all their SIP trunks are available. We can absolutely do that. International call tiering, very, very unique. Clearfly has taken an extremely aggressive approach on toll fraud. What we want to prevent is your customers from getting a large international phone bill due to toll fraud activity. What we've really done is we've taken a look at every single country in the world. We've broken them down into tiers based on frequency of toll fraud. So if your customer has needs to call certain countries and they fall into a tier 0 will be opened up for international calling, but the countries that fall into tier 1 and tier 2 will not be. So again, it's a matter of making sure that your customer is protected and your reputation is protected. We also have some additional automatic failover options. So besides the DID forwarding, we also have a disaster attendant, which I'll talk about in just a moment. Our focus is really two-pronged. One is on the customer and one is on the partner. We're going to talk about the customer right now. So as technology improves and new developments come about, we're going to add those features and functions and developments into our product portfolio. And we're going to make sure that the customer has access to it. We're going to make sure that you as our partner are aware of those changes. And if need be, we'll make sure that the customer is aware of them as well. We also take great pride in the fact that our uptime is 99.99%. And we do that by using state-of-the-art, gold standard equipment, providing redundancy across our network, and we'll talk about that in a little bit more detail in just a moment as well. Some of you are aware that Clearfly offers more than just SIP trunks. Depending on your geographic location, I will provide you with the last mile access, which really means the data connectivity as well as the voice. Your account manager will be able to help you understand whether or not you fall into those geographic areas. So, reach out to your account manager. The account managers at Clearfly Communication, there's 3 of us, myself, Tom Hall, Sam Johnson, and Bob Jenkins. If you're not aware of who your account manager is, I will have some contact information at the end of the presentation, and you can inquire on that. We also offer an e-Fax service. We currently call it fax to mail. So if your customer is looking to move away from the traditional fax machine and go to e-Fax service, we have that available as well. The disaster attendant is one of the automatic failover options that I mentioned previously. How it really works is if we lose connectivity to the phone system for whatever reason, the calls are going to ring in. It's going to be answered by an auto attendant that says, "Thank you for calling XYZ company." If you like to speak to sales, press 1. For service, press 2. For general inquiries or billing, press 3. Each of those single-digit options are going to be rerouted to a specific external phone number, typically a cell phone number. So that is also available. If you have some traditional or some customers with a traditional PBX or legacy PBX that may not be quite ready to upgrade their phone system yet, we can still save them money utilizing SIP trunks. What we would end up doing is delivering SIP trunks, IAD, that is going to convert that from a SIP connection to an analog or a PRI handoff. So again, hopefully with the cost savings, they'll be able to store that cost savings and eventually apply it to a new phone system. Now, coming to the gold standard we talked about just a second ago when we mentioned that our uptime is 99.99%. So Clearfly uses a gold standard soft switch called a meta switch. The reason we picked meta switch over a broad soft switch, which is the other gold standard in the United States, is meta switch allows us some greater flexibility in enabling new features and functions on a very short turnaround. The DID forwarding was one of those. It was requested by a customer and a dealer, and within 3 months of requesting that functionality, we had it implemented. We also, the facility that we are housed in, our meta switches are housed in, is a completely redundant from a power standpoint. The building has a large generator in case there was a power outage within the building itself. Clearfly has taken that a step further. We also have our own generator in our own co-location within that facility to provide an additional backup, and we have a second generator available on standby that we can have in that facility within 20 minutes. Talking about the meta switch again, backing up a little bit, so we don't only have just one meta switch, we have 2 meta switches sitting side by side next to each other. So if we need to do an update on one meta switch, we switch traffic over to the other one. That way, again, it provides a constant uptime for you, the customer. They're not going to notice any downtime due to system upgrades. We've also partnered up with the three major upstream carriers that are considered the big 3. That's Level 3, Zayo Group, and CenturyLink. The reason that we've partnered up with 3 of them is because we want to have the utmost coverage across the United States, and we want to have some overlapping coverage. The reason we want some overlapping coverage is, any carrier, any of those 3 carriers could have an issue sometime or someplace along their route. If they have an issue and it's not quickly resolved, if we have an overlap, we can switch the customer traffic to one of the additional carriers. So let's say, take example, let's say Level 3 has an issue, and Zayo Group or Envoy, I guess they may be called Envoy today, is in that same geographic area. We can switch the customer's phone calls from Level 3 over to Zayo Group until Level 3 fixes whatever issues they're having, and then we'll switch it back to the most direct route being Level 3. So again, that's one of the reasons why we wanted to partner up with multiple upstream carriers. We've also provided, or we're also paired with a lot of the major last mile providers or broadband connection providers, so Verizon, Cox Communications, there's a whole host of them, Quest, TW Telecom. So we've paired up with those to minimize the number of hops from the customer's premise directly back to our equipment. So it speeds things up, makes sure that the call quality is good. There's less latency, jitter, and packet loss. So that is how our infrastructure and our network has been designed. Certified and tested. We're certified and tested on most major PBXs. We just recently, as of July of 2015, certified with Avaya as well. If you'd like a list of the equipment or the PBXs that we are certified with, you can go to our website, which is www.clearfly.net. Click on the support tab up on the top, then go to interoperability, and it will list all of our PBXs that we've either been certified with manufacturer or customer and dealer certified with, along with any application notes that are there. Now, focusing on you as our partner. Our biggest thing is to make sure that your reputation is protected. We appreciate you going out and recommending Clearfly to your customers. We value that recommendation, and we will do whatever we need to do in order to make sure that that is protected. We have dedicated sales staff, provisioning, and support staff as well. The sales staff and the support staff are available to you 24/7, 365 days a year. So again, it doesn't matter what time of day or night. If you need help, we are going to be here. We also have one of the best portals in the industry. And if you haven't been to our portal, you need to look at it. There isn't another presentation going over the portal training, so I strongly encourage you to take a look at that presentation as well. As far as, excuse me, sorry about that. So as far as the portal goes, in the portal, you can see everything. You can see leads that you've requested. You can see quotes that we've generated. You can see the status of those quotes. You can see everything from the process of the customer signing the paperwork to turn up. So that'll all be in the orders section. You can also see all trouble tickets that have been submitted for each and every one of your customers. It doesn't matter if you as our dealer submitted the trouble ticket or if the customer submitted the trouble ticket. You're going to be updated via our portal and via emails of everything that is going on. So you can interact with our staff via the portal. So if there's a trouble ticket that is currently open and is being processed and you have some new information, you can simply log into the portal instead of making a phone call or sending an email and add those notes to that trouble ticket. And you're going to see the interaction between us and yourself right there, and everything will be tracked. So the portal's a very essential tool, and it will make your job easier and more efficient, as will it with us. Flexible SIP pricing. So again, if you haven't had a conversation with your account manager, I strongly suggest that you do so. But Clearfly takes a little unique approach on pricing. We understand that every customer and every market is going to be unique. Nobody is the same. Everybody has a little bit different needs. Everybody has their own little breaking points of, what they believe is a good value. And we're going to work with you as our partner to make sure that from our standpoint, we help you close more business. It doesn't matter if the contract is going to be, 3 years, and if it's 3 years, it's going to be X price. If it's 2 years, it's going to be Y price, or 1 year, it's going to be Z price. It's not how Clearfly works. We work with you. We know that you have the best grasp of what that customer's needs are in order to facilitate a sale, and we're going to work within that. If you need to have a contract at a certain amount and the customer doesn't want to do a 3-year contract but will do a 2-year contract, we're going to make that happen. So again, speak to your account manager and they'll walk you through that a little bit more. So with all of that being said, let's go ahead and get right to this presentation. And let's talk about why companies buy new phone systems. So traditionally, there were only 4 reasons companies bought new phone systems. Number 1, their current equipment fails, so it doesn't work, it costs too much to get it to work again, so they're looking for something new. Number two, new functionality is available today that enhances the way that they do business, so they're really conscientious about that. So they're inquiring about a new phone system. Number three, they've simply outgrown their system. So good for them. Their business is growing, expanding. The current phone system is too small, can't accommodate new employees, so they're looking to add a new phone system or purchase a new phone system. And the fourth reason is they're moving, and the timing is right. So maybe, you know, they're at that point of, well, you know, we've been here, had this phone system for a while. Let's look to see what else is available. So those are all good reasons, but those are the only four reasons that people would buy a phone system. If you were to walk into a place and their equipment is currently working, they're really not looking for new functionality, it's the right size, and they're not moving, chances are that you're going to have a very tough time convincing them to spend money on a new phone system. However, today, in today's world, there's a fifth reason. And that fifth reason is cost savings. If you can convince a customer that you can save them money on their telecom costs, a lot of times that savings can warrant a brand new phone system. So they are going to get the new features and functions. They're going to have the ability to grow if they need to later down the line, all at the same time as still saving them money. So that is a very, very big motivating factor. Businesses are frugal. You know, they're concerned about their bottom line. They want to make sure that, you know, they're getting the best value out there. And if they had phone lines that they purchased, you know, 5, 6 years ago, 10 years ago, you know, they're probably paying way too much. And so their monthly phone bill and their telecom budget is probably significantly higher than it needs to be. So who's your prospect from a traditional phone system sales approach? And again, when I say traditional, I'm talking about the four opportunities that we discussed. So who's a prospective customer for the traditional approach? Number one, it's a company calling in asking for service. If they're asking you for service, maybe because of some issues, maybe their old service provider is gone, you've got probably a better than 50% chance of, you know, convincing them to upgrade their phone system, especially if it's a system that you don't currently support and nobody in the area supports. So you've got a better than 50% chance if they're calling you. The company is expanding. So again, they're growing to accommodate their growth with their existing system. And if they're contacting you about that, again, your chances of closing it is better than 50%. Why it's not 100% is because they're going to get competitive quotes. And, you know, depending on your sales skill, depending on the company's reputation, you know, it may be better than 50%, but what, maybe 75%? It's not going to be 100% though. Third option or third prospective customer is a company that is upgrading their processes. So maybe they're upgrading their computer network and their IT person had kind of mentioned about interacting with the computers with the phones, and so their processes are needing to improve, and their current system doesn't currently support that. So with that type of customer, you've got about a 50% chance of closing a new sale on a phone system. Why it's only about 50% is because the customer is going to look at the cost of a new phone system versus the increase in productivity. And if they don't see a great value there or a great increase in productivity, they're probably just going to hang tight with what they have. Fourth way is a company that is moving. We kind of talked about that again. Less than 50% chance. Typically, it's just inquiring. But again, depending on your sales skill, depending on your company's reputation, you may be able to move that from 50% or lower than 50% to greater than. So what's the process if any of those customers calls you? So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to meet with the prospective customer. Second thing is you're going to discuss their needs and their wants. You're going to present a proposal, and you're going to ask for order. Standard sales 101, right? Those are going to be the steps that you're going to go through. After you present the order, you're going to handle any objections and justify the cost. Again, that part becomes the critical part, handling the objections and justifying the costs. So what objections are you going to have? Well, typically there's going to be 4 of them. There may be some other ones, but they're going to break down into primarily these 4. The first one being, that's more than we had budgeted right now. I'm sure many of you that have been in sales for a while have heard that, more than a couple dozen times. The second one is XYZ company offered a similar system for less money. Again, it's a price objection. Number 3, can you do X feature because XYZ's phone system can? All right, that's a feature and functional objection, which can typically be handled. Most phone systems today do the same thing. The fourth one is we have to get approval by the board. Okay, again, that's a price objection. So as you can see, out of those 4 objections, 3 of the 4 were based around money. That will always be the case in a traditional sales approach when you're going and just trying to sell a phone system. What you're in essence trying to do is convince a customer that they need to spend money in order to have something else. So that's your approach. Those are going to be the objections. You're going to go in there knowing that at some point in time you're going to end up haggling over the amount. So that's a traditional approach. If it's working for you, great. But this presentation is tailored around helping you close more phone system sales and therefore bringing Clearfly into more opportunities. So let's look at a more modern approach today. So the modern approach is, who's your prospective customer? Well, you're not really tied to those 4 initial people that are moving, people that are outgrowing, the system's not working. What you're really looking for is anybody that's looking to save some money that preferably isn't under contract. Although, if the savings is great enough, then even if they're under contract, the savings may justify them getting out of that contract a little early. So with that, what's going to be the process? It's going to look very, very similar up front. You're going to meet with the prospective customer. You're going to discuss their needs and their wants. You're going to review their current telecom bill. So that's a new one, right? Number 3 is reviewing their current telecom bills. So what we're looking for is to try to figure out how we're going to save them money. You're going to present a proposal using a return on investment or ROI approach. And let's take a look at that. So maybe. Well, don't you love it? Let's come back to that then. All right. I'm not quite sure why that link isn't working, but actually, yeah. Let's see if I scroll through the end of the presentation if it's there. Nope. Oh, there it is. All right. So this is a ROI tool that we've calculated at Clearfly. What it really does is it breaks it down into 2 columns. Their current connectivity cost, which is going to be the red column, and their SIP connectivity cost, which is going to be the green column. You can change these numbers. Your account manager can provide this tool to you. Just get hold of them. They're going to send it to you. But what you're really doing is entering the number of phone lines that they currently have, what their cost is per phone line. You're going to duplicate that information over on the SIP connectivity side, which is Clearfly side. You're going to calculate, their interstate, their long distance rate, what their rate is per minute. Typically the internet access part is going to remain the same, so it's going to be duplicate from the left to the right. And then it's going to break it down into current connectivity, costs, which are going to be the current phone lines and their internet access. In this example, it shows $528.90. And then the connectivity with Clearfly SIP trunks being, in this example, is $320.90. So it's a monthly savings of $208 or 39% savings month to month. So over the contract term of 3 years, the customer is going to save $7,488. So there you go. At this point, what you're really doing is you're justifying the new purchase of a phone system with the savings that they're going to have on their connectivity side. So if you do a lease, and you can calculate the lease price of the phone system. So in this example, a 60-month $1 buyout lease for this equipment was $150. The monthly cost of the phone system and the SIP trunk, so we're taking the lease price plus the cost of the monthly cost of their connectivity with SIP trunks, which is $320, comes to $470.90. Again, of a savings of $58 a month versus just their connectivity and their old phone system. So again, in this type of scenario, in this type of justification, you're showing them even with the new phone system and switching to SIP trunks, they're still going to save $58 a month. Pretty easy sale, right? So you're not having to convince them that, you know, the system is going to cost them, you know, $5,000 and they're going to have to come up with $5,000. What you're really convincing them is, do you want to save $58 a month? So even if those numbers don't quite jive and maybe the net difference, monthly net difference is, you know, $10 more a month, which is going to be a rare feat, to be honest with you, with the savings in SIP trunks today over their cost of analog or PRIs today. But let's say hypothetically it was, and it cost them an extra $10 a month. At that point, all you have to do is convince them that the purchasing of a new phone system, switching to SIP trunks, is only going to increase their cost by $10. Much easier than trying to convince them to buy something for $5,000. So great tool, something that you should contact your account manager for again, and they'll provide you with that tool, kind of go through it, and you know, help you understand how to use it. All right, so now let's scroll on back to this slide here. So again, the process on the modern approach: meet with a prospective customer, discuss their needs and wants, review their current telecom bill, and present the proposal using the return on investment spreadsheet that I just showed you. At that point, you're going to ask for an order. There are a few things that you may want to do prior to proposing. And there's some questions that you may want to ask. This is kind of a checklist of those. You may want to ask them, do they have a telecom budget or a technology budget? It's going to help you kind of figure out where you need to make sure that that price falls into. Have you ever experienced a power outage? Why that question is good is, again, it's kind of staging some of the enhancements and some of the features that you can offer with SIP that they currently don't have. If they have had a power outage, you're going to want to ask them, well, what happened to your phone calls? You know, and then you can highlight the fact that, you know, with SIP trunks, we have an unavailable forward or disaster attendant solution for them. How important is it that you don't miss a phone call? Typically, that's going to be extremely important. So again, these questions, I'm not going to go through them all. You can review this presentation. You can pause this presentation, write those down. But these are questions that are going to lead you to handle any objections or maybe highlight the features and reasons why moving to a new PBX with SIP trunking, it will be beneficial for them. So we're going to move on from here. But again, very, very good list things that you should kind of put in your little memory bank when you're having a discussion with a customer. So handling objections, again, earlier we talked about the traditional approach and what objections you were going to have. Well, we need to do the same with a modern approach, right? So the objections are going to be, can you do X feature because XYZ phone systems can? Similar to the traditional approach, right? So that's one objection. Number two, am I going to have any issues with SIP? That most likely is going to come up. So we need to be able to figure out how to handle that objection. And the third one is, can I go with another SIP carrier? And so we're going to talk about these in great detail. But there's something that you should notice there. None of the objections were based around price. They were all based around functionality. Big difference. You know, a price objection is a standard objection. Everybody has it. But if you've taken that price objection away by justifying the purchase of a new phone system with SIP trunks using that ROI spreadsheet. So it's easier to handle objections based around functionalities and feature sets than price. Price is a very personal issue. Functions and features are not so much, and they're also easier to handle. So let's look at a way to handle each of those. So can you do X feature because XYZ's phone system can? You know, as I mentioned earlier, almost every phone system out there today, every modern phone system can do the same things. Some call it a different feature than others. Some are programmed a certain way versus others. But in a nutshell, almost every phone system can do the same thing. So that should never end up being a sticking point. The manufacturer's rep, your technicians, or your sales engineers could probably help you handle that objection and help the customer understand how you can do the same thing. Am I going to have any issues with SIP? So again, this is going to be a biggie, all right? And you need to be able to understand how to handle those. So let's look at issues that they may be thinking. Really, it comes down to three major concerns: voice quality, stability, and toll fraud. So voice quality. Voice quality is depending on the broadband connection, and it should, and you should really look at it prior to deploying any SIP. So what you can do, there's some things that you can do with that. You can do a speed test. Clearfly has a speed test tool on our website. The thing is with a speed test is, it's really just a snapshot of what's going on at a specific moment. What we want to do is have a better picture than just a snapshot. And there's a lot of external software that's free that will help you understand the traffic on that customer's broadband connection over a course of a few days, and that will give you a real good picture. That is on another presentation, so I'm not going to go into that in great detail here either. But voice quality is a big thing, and you need to understand it. You need to do a little bit of due diligence up front to make sure that the customer's broadband connection or internet connection is going to be sufficient for SIP. Stability, or what happens if I lose internet. Again, we kind of talked about the unavailable forwards, the disaster attendants, so I'm not going to go into that again. But both of those are pretty unique. Most likely if they have analog phone lines or even a PRI today, those companies that are providing that service may not have something set up automatically. If they lose connectivity, they're going to have to, once they realize that they don't have phone service or their phone lines are down, they're going to have to call that carrier. That carrier is going to, turn on a forwarding process, and then once that service is back up, the customer again is going to have to call them and say, okay, can you please turn off the forwarding? So with Clearfly, everything is automatic. When I say automatic, it happens within minutes of us losing connectivity to the phone system. And as soon as that connectivity is reestablished and stable, calls are going to begin ringing back to the office. This is a biggie. So can I go with another SIP carrier? The answer is yes. Of course it's yes. But not all carriers are going to be created equally. So let's talk a little bit about that. So there's some questions that you need to kind of pose to the customer if they're going to look at other SIP carriers. And the first one is, are the other SIP carriers that they're looking at, are they licensed with the FCC in your state? So Clearfly is licensed in all 50 states. Not all of them are. We make sure the taxes are paid. We make sure that municipality taxes as well as federal taxes are all taken care of, and that's important. If taxes aren't being paid, at some point in time, Uncle Sam is going to end up wanting their money. And I know of people that have been providing SIP that weren't paying those taxes. And Uncle Sam came knocking, and their bill was so big from back taxes that they had to close shop. And if that happens, your customer is going to be, out in the cold. They may even lose their phone numbers. So that's an important question. They need to make sure that, the SIP carriers that they're talking to are licensed. Who provides the support? So as I mentioned earlier, your sales and your technical support are available from Clearfly 24/7, 365 days a year. Everything is tracked via the portal. So you're going to see exactly what's happening at any time that you want. So again, we're going to provide that support for you and for the customer, no matter if it's a holiday, a weekday, or a weekend. What upstream carriers do they use? Again, some SIP carriers may only have one upstream carrier. If there's an issue with that one upstream carrier, that customer is going to be down. So again, with Clearfly, as I mentioned earlier, we have 3 upstream carriers that we've partnered up with, those being Level 3, CenturyLink, and Zayo Group, or Envoy. What kind of equipment is used? Again, there's really only 2 gold standard soft switches in the United States. That's Metaswitch and BroadSoft. Clearfly uses Metaswitch for the reasons I'd mentioned earlier, flexibility, ease of use from our side, and the fact that we can add new features and functions on a very quick turnaround basis. What is the redundancy of their equipment and their network? Again, we talked about that earlier, so I'm not going to go over it again. But bottom line is everything within Clearfly's network is redundant multiple times over. Everything from the Metaswitch, we've got 2, to the upstream carriers, we got 3, to backup power, we've got the building itself, which happens to be the same building that CenturyLink, Level 3, and Zayo Group are also housed in, has its own generator. Clearfly has 2 others that are also available. So everything is redundant. Everything is going to make sure that unless there's some catastrophic failure someplace along the lines, we are going to stay up and running, and therefore your customer is going to stay up and running. 6.1, can SIP traffic be rerouted? Again, these are questions that need to be asked or from your customer to any potential other SIP carrier. Can SIP traffic be rerouted? We've already talked about that as well. There's going to be carriers out there that aren't, because again, they may only have one upstream carrier, or they may have 2, but they may not overlap. Number 7, what happens if I lose internet? Where do the calls go? and is it automatic, or do I need to notify somebody? So again, another question, we've actually touched on that question earlier, but it's just another way of restating it. How does a carrier prevent toll fraud? We talked about that earlier. Clearfly, again, as of today, I'm aware of only Clearfly breaking every country down into tiers. So we're going to break them down into tiers based on toll fraud activity, and we're going to open up only the tiers that the customer is requesting. So tier 2 being the most frequent toll fraud activities in those countries, and you know, between tier 1 and tier 0, it really covers, you know, roughly 90% of the countries in the world. So we've done that. We're also going to ask an average length of time of an international call. We're going to set a timer in our system. So let's say the customer says that their typical international call is 30 minutes. All fine and dandy. They make a international call. It goes 45 minutes. Well, from our side, we're going to see an alarm. We're going to prevent any additional international call being made until the customer verifies that they're aware that a call exceeded their threshold of 30 minutes. If they're aware of it and you know, they've confirmed that, then we'll allow other additional international calls being made. If they're not aware of that, we're going to continue to block any additional international calls until we have verified that it was actually a legitimate call versus a toll fraud phone call. So again, Clearfly has taken a very, very, very aggressive approach on that. We don't want a customer getting a huge international phone bill, because if they do, they're going to call you. They're going to ask you, why did that happen? What did you do or what didn't you do in order to prevent that? And then that's going to come back to us. So we just want to prevent that up front. Again, we want to protect your reputation. We want to protect our reputation. And we want to make sure that the customer is happy. And that is the end of the presentation. So since this is a recorded webinar, there's going to be no questions or discussions, but there is contact information. So again, if you're unaware who your account manager is, feel free to send an email to sales@clearfly.net or info@clearfly.net, and your account manager will get hold of you. If you need to get hold of our support department, dial our toll-free number, which is 866-652-7520, or send them an email at support@clearfly.net, and they'll be happy to help you out. So again, thank you very much for attending Clearfly Communications Educational Webinars. Hope you have a great day. Good luck with selling, and we really do appreciate you giving us an opportunity.